It's Monday, March 29th, and the time for your Barbados Today morning news update. The first phase of the first dose of Barbados's national vaccination program for COVID-19 has ended, with 63,689 people being vaccinated. Of the total number of those inoculated, 26,325 are men and 37,364 are women. Co-coordinator of the vaccination program, Major David Clark, tells Barbados Today officials have learned from the experiences of the first phase and will be better able to manage administering the second dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which begins from Saturday, April 17th.
We will be able to manage that better because we now have everybody's details in the SHAPE app, so people will be able to get an email telling them when they're supposed to come. So we won't have the same issues that we had with people showing up, because it could only come if you get your confirmation to come to your second dose. And also we'll be able to manage it in a much better way in terms of the numbers of people coming and to the locations. So certainly the exercise that we went through by collecting all the data, we don't have to go through that again, as we've done that already. So I think going forward, we have learned from the experiences of the first phase, and so certainly we will take all the lessons learned and incorporate them into the other phases going forward.
Major Clark is urging members of the public, even those who have received their first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, to adhere to the health protocols.
People need to adhere to the protocols that have been established. Because you may be vaccinated does not mean you shouldn't adhere to the protocols. So we still need to adhere. We've only vaccinated just over 63,000 people. We still have a long way to go as we're waiting for the supply of vaccines to come. So I think people should still be cognizant and adhere to the protocols that have been established.
Meantime, 7 men and 13 women tested positive for COVID-19 last Saturday, taking the number of total recorded cases in the country to 3,629. That's a breakdown of 1,745 females and 1,884 males. Additionally, 14 people recovered from the viral illness and were discharged. There are currently 160 people in isolation. 3,436 people have recovered from the virus and 41 have died. Celebrations this Easter weekend will be curtailed as government implements partial shutdown days in a bid to keep COVID-19 cases on the decline. Attorney General Dale Marshall announced the measures over the weekend based on the recommendations from the Chief Medical Officer and the COVID subcommittee. The minister said during the days of partial shutdown, only specified businesses would be allowed to operate. The rules went into effect yesterday.
We have tremendous concerns about the upcoming Easter weekend. And I understand that this will be an important bank holiday, but we still feel that we need to keep the brakes on for a while longer. And therefore, for the Sunday tomorrow, Sunday 28th, Good Friday, Sunday 4th of April, Easter bank holiday, and Sunday 11th of April, we will once more have the partial shutdown. And therefore, only certain specified businesses are going to be allowed to open. Bakeries can open if they wish for the baking of bread, but they will not be allowed to sell bread during those days. So no bread vans, no bread depots can be open. Farms, of course, must be allowed to operate. Cleaning services that clean for essential services, they can operate. Fuel manufacturers, gas stations, hotels and so on, they can all operate.
Marshall made it clear the measures will be strictly enforced.
On those days, we're expecting the majority of businesses to be closed, and under this directive, once more, unless you are doing business with one of those kinds of establishments that are allowed to open, you have to stay at home. Plain and simple, you have to stay at home. Now let me warn you, We are going to be taking the business of enforcement very seriously over Easter weekend. So those individuals who are planning on picnics on Easter Sunday and little mini lines on the beach on Easter bank holiday, that is not permitted, and therefore enforcement will be strict. Beaches and parks are open only for swimming and exercise, not for picnics, not for gatherings, not for recreational activity. And therefore we will be out in great numbers with the enforcement team during those periods, and we really want to ask Barbadians to cooperate with us.
President of the Democratic Labour Party, Villa de Pisa, has been sharing her perspective on the stipulations put in place for the upcoming Easter weekend. Speaking to Barbados Today last evening, Ms. de Pisa said while she understood the rationale behind the measures, she was also of the view that government was sending mixed messages.
The fact of the matter is that the government clearly is trying to avoid any exuberance on the part of the citizens, that we don't have any major Easter Monday picnic, any large gatherings. That clearly is what is intended. But we also are sending mixed messages, because the Ministry of Education called a meeting for its how much ever 1,000 teachers in one location. Granted, that meeting did not come off. But there's another indoor meeting tomorrow, okay? We're sending these mixed messages that it is okay to gather for one reason, but not okay to gather for another, as though COVID makes a distinction. We need to be consistent in how we are dealing with it. I understand that we are trying to find a balance between commerce and health. I get that. And I get that it is necessary, but we need, honestly, to sit and think about the rationale for doing things and then an appropriate means of delivery. But I understand what they're trying to do over Easter weekend.
In other news, officials in the Ministry of Energy are currently conducting studies on the use of wind turbines onshore and offshore. Minister with responsibility for the sector, Kerry Simmons, made the announcement as he addressed a church service at the Sanctuary Empowerment Center yesterday to mark the 40th anniversary of the National Petroleum Corporation.
We in the ministry are doing studies on wind, and we are looking at the use of it onshore and offshore, in the deep water and in the near water. And the truth of the matter is, at the deep water, you can anchor it on a floating foundation a few miles out to sea. I believe you know that we have 400 times our land space is our sea space, our maritime space. And we have to make use of that in a way that does not humbug people who want to go to the beach and so on and so forth, or humbug the tourists that want to experience a quiet Barbados, or the Barbadians who want to recreate themselves on a quiet beach. But you want to have those turbines out there a few miles out where nobody can hear the noise. But the fact is, we're generating electricity for the country. So these are options that we are looking at. And the journey towards 2030 must include this company, which must be at the forefront, quite frankly, in helping us build out the skills and the know-how and the standards.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news now, stringent measures have been imposed in Bermuda as the country experiences a third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Health Minister Kim Wilson over the weekend reported that the country recorded 81 new cases of the virus, pushing the national toll to 1,028.
Bermuda, this is a significant outbreak. We have never experienced community spread. Sporadic cases means having few cases which may be imported or locally acquired. However, community transmission signifies outbreaks where it is difficult to relate confirmed cases through chains of transmission for large number of cases, or there are widely dispersed cases detected in the past 14 days. Bermuda exhibits signs of both of these situations, and this is new territory for us. It is more critical than ever that we take responsibility for our own behavior and act in an abundance of caution. In other words, stay in your household bubble. Do not socialize outside of your household or invite others into your household. Do not mix households, as we know this is what is contributing to our spread and our current outbreak.
On the international front in the U.S., arguments in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the police officer accused of killing George Floyd, is set to begin today. More in this Reuters TV report.
The murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, accused of killing George Floyd, is set to begin with opening statements on Monday.
Step out and face away.
Chauvin is one of 4 cops who arrested and subdued Floyd last May on suspicion that the 46-year-old African-American had tried to buy groceries with a counterfeit $20 bill. Video of the arrest showed Chauvin put his knee on Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes. While Floyd protested, he could not breathe. Floyd's death sparked renewed and sometimes destructive protests against police brutality last summer across the U.S. and abroad. Chauvin, who is white, was subsequently fired and is now charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. He claims he was following police procedure when he arrested Floyd. In pretrial motions and through 2 weeks of jury selection, his lawyers tried to get the trial moved to a different county, arguing it would be impossible to find jurors unfamiliar with the case.
The purpose of a change of venue is to ensure that the defendant has a fair trial by an impartial jury.
Hennepin County District Judge Peter Cahill rejected that bid.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.